we shine on the light. Welcome to chat night, we bring you good vibe, we shine on the light.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for deciding to watch this broadcast. My name is Divine Chamukong. I am in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area anchoring this show. Regardless of how much you earn, 100,000, 200,000, even $1 million, what would you do if you showed up at work and your employer told you he no longer needed you? It happens to a lot of people. What are you spending your money today on? Be careful. You could be enriching billionaires and millionaires and keeping yourself broke or poor. You certainly work very hard to earn a paycheck, big or small. But do you think the very rich folks around us in the United States and worldwide, for example, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and others work 100 times more than you do? Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, Charles Njoya, is a business consultant, a tax strategist, a CPA, and the CEO of CHN Advisors. In response to popular demand, he is here to address some of your major preoccupations. Clutch your seat. Serious things are about to begin. Once again, thank you all for deciding to come and watch this ebullient broadcast. Charles Njoya, I want to thank you for accepting my invitation.
Thank you, Divine. Exciting to be here. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I'm honored. I'm also very, very humbled when I come to this platform to basically share some of the things we know that maybe others have it a different way or maybe others don't know. It's always a pleasure to be here to share with our community.
Charles, I cannot imagine anyone who wouldn't want to be wealthy. I can't think of one. In the United States, we hear of the top 1%. Now, you begin to wonder what's holding back the 99%.
Thank you for having me again, Divine. The 99% they are being held by quite a few things. Number one is lack of knowledge. Whether you are, whoever you are, whenever you get to a particular place, the first thing you want to know is how the system in that particular environment works. We are in the United States, which is the largest capital market in the world. It is the wealthiest nation on planet Earth. And when we get to the United States, no matter where we come from, the first thing we want to do is to understand how this system works. Unfortunately, this system is not something that's written in books. It's not something that's out there. When you go to the best schools, you do the right things. You don't just get it out there. So number one is going to be, how do I get this information? There's a price to getting the information you're looking for. That's number one. Number two, you also have to have the right mindset. Mindset is one of the things that's holding us back. Some of us, even when you don't know something, you tend to always have that mindset that you know it. And then that is one of the challenges we have in our communities as well. People don't want to leave their old beliefs to learn new things so that they can basically better insert into that community and take the best out of that community.
Bob, mindset. What has mindset got to do with wealth building?
You know, mindset is the guide of whatever you do. If you have the right mindset, even when you wake up in the morning, If you wake up with a bad mindset, it is very likely that nature is going to follow you the way you work. So when you have the right mindset, the mindset of a winner is somebody who wakes up every morning. He's inquisitive. He wants to know. He wants to learn more new things. He's always thinking about, how do I go from where I am to the next step? He has a clear idea of where he wants to go. Maybe he doesn't have the roadmap. The roadmap is not there, but he knows exactly where he's going to. If you are that person who wants to win so badly that you are able to see what you're looking for, some people call it your apple. You have to have your apple. What is that thing that makes you tick is going to be what makes you, whatever makes you tick, you have to have a mindset that is guided towards understanding how other people have made it. How did they make it to get to that thing? And that is why we talk about mindset. Mindset is everything. Our minds occupy, if you can use 1% of your brain, you can change the world. We're using just a very tiny portion of our brains. So our mindset have to be geared towards the things that make us tick, the things that make us wealthy if we want to be wealthy. How do we get there? How did the other guy get there? And that is why I talk about mindset all the time. You have to have the right mindset.
We love Chat Night Africa.
Charles Njoya, wealthy people I know invest in real estate. What is real estate investment, and what's step one? Is it buying a home to live in, a palatial residence to live in? What is it? And what is step one?
That's a great question. Real estate is one of those areas that is, I will tell you something. The tax code in the United States is inherently biased to investing in real estate. It is biased to investing in assets. And the system gives you access to make that happen. So when you're thinking about buying real estate, first of all, you have to understand the steps to wealth building. There are three main steps to wealth building. Number one, you have to make income. If you don't make income, it's hard for you to really go to wealth building. Income is the first step. If you are not making enough money, if you are not making money in the first place, the first thing I tell people is go make money. Look for ways of making money. There are so many things you can do to make money, especially for those of us who are privy, who are lucky to be in this land. Even anywhere in the world, there are so many things to do, especially in this digital world. The world has become a place where there are so many sources, so many areas you can do to make wealth. So number one, when you are already generating an income in America, the next thing that happens is that you start thinking about buying those assets. The thing you want to buy real estate, you want to invest in that nice car, you want to invest in that nice home, you want to have those things that you've been dreaming of. And that is where you start thinking about, that's where you have to be very, very careful, because there's a difference between the things that you're going to acquire. The system is going to give you access to those things as long as you're making money. So the initial step is income generation. The second step is asset accumulation. And accumulating asset is a very, very serious stage in your wealth building. So how do you accumulate assets? You have to accumulate real assets, not liabilities. And that is where the problem comes in. Many a time when we come out of those best schools, those great schools, and then we start making money, or we went into some training, we come out, we start making money. The system is going to give you a lot of access to capital, because the system knows when you start making money. The letters that come to you are letters giving you credit, or the bank wants to give you a loan, or you've been pre-approved, you've been this. All those things are telling you that, okay, you are at the right place. But many a times we take those pre-approved letters to acquire liabilities. And that's where the trouble comes. When you start by acquiring liabilities, you're going to get stuck in what we call the rat race. The rat race, where it becomes now a challenge to how do you get out of that rat race. That is something that you want to be careful. You want to make sure you're looking for income generating assets. I won't tell you, whenever you're starting, most people think that it is the first thing to start with is buy a big home or buy this or buy that. I tell people a home is a liability. I mean, I'm sure many people are sitting off their chairs and asking, what is he talking about? A home is a liability. Why is it a liability? Anything that takes money out of you continuously is a liability. It is a liability. I'm talking here on a purely financial basis. Now, we know that there are intangible factors in getting that your nice home. You want to live there, it gives you some benefit. But if you're thinking in terms of building wealth, that first large, nice home is not the first thing you should look for. Look for income generating assets. And now, if you want a home, have a home that meets that you will not struggle, because whenever you buy a home, there's going to be constant outflow of money. You want to fix that. You're fixing this. You're fixing this on the house. You're paying mortgage. You're paying property taxes. You're paying up. The home will keep you indebted for the next 30 years. That is not an asset. If I were to buy an asset is in this second stage of my career, of my wealth building process, I'll look for an income generating asset. I will buy that home that is going to give me more return. It's going to be giving me cash flow. That's more important. You want to create another source of income, multiply your sources of income. Once you have those sources of income, then you can now buy that dream property, because knowing that you are not only reliant on that one thing. You started by saying that people lose their jobs. If you lost your job and you have a home, you're going to go bankrupt because that home is going to foreclosure. Foreclosure on your credit alone is going to stand there for 10 years. When you have foreclosure on your credit, it stands there for 10 years. You just hit yourself back by 10 years. So it's important that you know the type of things you're investing in. So income generation, asset accumulation, then now you can talk about wealth building. You're building wealth on the back of the type of assets you've accumulated.
You are watching Voices of Africa. And you see, when growing up back home, our parents sent us to school. You know, you go to university. If you're lucky, you were sent abroad. And those who could make it went to Harvard. Some went to MIT, some went to Penn State, and so on. Some of those prestigious universities. Some went to medical schools. Now, Charles, when you graduate there as a doctor, you want to live the doctor life. I mean, you need a big Mercedes-Benz. What are some of the examples of liabilities as opposed to assets, residential home apart or aside?
That's a great question. I mean, liabilities, again, you have to go from the point of what is the definition of a liability? From a purely wealth building perspective, a liability, I don't want to go into the complicated accounting definitions for liability, but a liability is anything that takes away money out of you. Anything that constantly takes money away from you is a liability. Anything
it looks like that cool
you,
car. It looks like that cool car is one. It's beginning to sound to me like one.
Let me tell you something.
We like to look cool.
The way you look at the car is, I don't mind if you have that cool car, and that cool car is an income generating asset for you. It's an income generating asset for you. You could have a cool car. There are people who are out there who are buying Lamborghinis, and that Lamborghini is giving them a lot of money. Number one, if you bought a car for your business, and that car is, because the tax code talks about it has to be ordinary and necessary in the production of income. If you bought a car, that's a cool car, you bought it for $100,000. That's fine. That $100,000, number one, because it meets certain criteria, it might just be helping you save on taxes. But that's for somebody who's already making money. You want to save on taxes, number one. Number two, if that car is generating income, there's some people who have private jets as their income generating asset, which generates money for them. So if you see somebody with a nice car, it's not always seen as that thing that is going to be a liability for him. It depends on how he has structured that asset inside his portfolio. If that item is an asset, it's an item that is going to make him save money, keep money, rather than make him spend a lot of money, then it could be considered an asset. So a car could be an asset. It could also be a liability, depending on how you use it. That's number one. There are other things as well that are even more of liabilities. People they invest in crazy stuff. I mean, before you even get to the place where you can afford it, you're already buying some expense items. What are expense items? A very expensive suit. You buy expensive jewelries and things like that. Just because other people are doing the same, you must not do the same. You want to look at what is my goal. Once your goal is clear in your mind, once your goal is clear, then you can only get into buying those things, those luxury items that are not income generating after you've gotten to that place where you're making enough money for yourself. It shouldn't be accumulating debt on credit cards because you want to accumulate that. Because once you accumulate debt, what it does is that it also destroys your credit score. When destroying your credit, once your credit score is destroyed, you see a lot of people in our communities, they cannot acquire even the minimal things just because of their credits have all been destroyed. There are two things that are going to give you access to wealth in this country. Two things. Number one is your tax return. Your tax return is the number one item that's going to give you wealth. Number two is your credit score. When you want to acquire anything of value in this country, they will ask you for at least 2 years of your tax return. Basic, 2 years of your tax return. And that tax return better be a tax return that is showing that you have the ability to pay. So it has to be shown on that tax return. Many a times our tax returns are prepared in a way that we are just looking for fraudulent ways of avoiding taxes, of evading, and that's what we call evading taxes. You're looking for all sorts of expenses to put there. Every time you put an expense on your tax return, you're only making your tax return look very, very cheap and poor. And when it's poor, nobody gives a dime to a broke person. Even in our communities where we come from, even in your home, you will notice that the people who make money are the people who get more acclamation. They come in gatherings. You see, it's your younger brother, but he's the guy who makes the noise. Who makes the rules. It's the same in a capitalist country like the United States. If you are making money, you make the rules. So number one is your tax return. Number two is your credit score. Credit score get easily destroyed by credit cards. Credit cards, the average rate of a credit card in this economy is 28%, 26.8% interest rate. How do you think that a 6.8% interest rate finance is something that gives you value? It doesn't.
Charles, how are you going to sit and tell somebody who makes $1 million a year, $300,000 a year, that is not a wealthy person? He's making that amount of money a year. So
the first thing,
they're sitting there probably thinking that, well, you start talking about people being broke or poor, you're referring to other people, not them.
Okay, that is very important. That question you just brought about is, when I see people, the problem we've had with people who have made, if you look in our communities, we are made up of very hardworking people who have gone to the best schools, who are physicians, they work in IT, they make millions of dollars. The problem we have is that we just don't attain our capacity in terms of in terms of what American dream can give you. When you make $1 million in Maryland, where you are, in Maryland, the state tax rate is 9%. So when you make that, you're paying around $90,000 of that money in taxes. That's 9%. And then you are in the 37% tax bracket. That's $370,000 in taxes. If you add those two, that's $460,000 in taxes. So that guy who is seated on $1 million a year, who thinks that, okay, I'm the guy, I've made it, the system is already taking half of that money away in the form of taxes. And why is the system taking that money away? The system is taking that money away because he doesn't understand how to structure. Because there's nobody who has told him that he can structure that money in order to build wealth. Income is not wealth. Income is not wealth. In America, that guy who is making $1 million, he probably has a home that he pays mortgage for $10,000 a month. He probably has a car that is probably close to a Lamborghini where he's bought it for $200,000. So when you think about, everything he's gonna buy out there, he's gonna pay taxes on them. So you think about that guy making $1 million, the net he's using for himself is about 40%, at times even 30%, because everything you buy in America has a tax on it. It's either called property tax, it's either called sales tax, or any form of tax. So basically, when you make money, your income is not wealth. The higher the income, the more taxes, the more indebted you are to the community. Now, the next thing you want to do is that you have to work with it. You have to be able to leverage that income to make assets. Now, if that income is properly shown on your tax return in the proper way, you can have access to assets worth at least 10 times that income. So basically, a guy who had $1 million can have access to wealth worth $10 million every year. So what do I mean? Forget about that $10 million. But if you have income for $1 million and your taxes is almost $400,000, $400,000 is 10% down on a $4 million property. That $400,000, you're either putting it through the trash can, or you're putting it in toilet and flushing it, or you decide to take it and invest it in the proper way, and you have assets worth $4 million every year. And you can do that every year. The tax code says that if you have that asset is an investment, an income producing asset. You can basically do something called cost segregation on that asset and take that asset which you bought with other people's money. You bought that 4 million asset with other people's money. You can take that and use that particular asset to wipe off your ordinary income with, and you're paying zero in taxes. I'm taking it in the base level. So the tax, that income that you made, as long as you are not leveraging it correctly, you don't have any wealth. And you see people, they earn millions of dollars. By the time they retire, they only depend on something called a 401k. A 401k that they themselves did not even know how to manage the 401k. Because 99% of the people I see coming through my office, they don't even know that you can self-direct your 401k and multiply the value of that 401k. You could get at $10,000, $100,000 in a 401k. You can basically self-direct it and convert it into asset more worth 10 times that value.
If you're watching this now, you understand why you should talk to the tax strategist, Charles Njoya. To be honest with you, if I'm going to pay $400,000 in taxes, why shouldn't I pay you $20,000 to keep that money for myself? Right? It makes sense. In Cameroon, they say l'argent appelle l'argent. Na money define money.
You know, the problem we've had in our communities for years is that we just did not even have, in this community, we don't have tax strategists. We have CPAs. Most people, they are looking for the best people. They go to a CPA. CPAs are great at what they do. But a CPA, his primary job is not to save you on taxes. What he does best is that he knows how to help you calculate your taxes and pay them to Uncle Sam. He doesn't understand how do I save this guy on taxes. And saving on taxes is a strategy. It requires a team. It's not one person who would sit down and tell you that as a CPA, I'm going to save you on taxes. It is a team. Generally, the wealthy call it a family office. You work with the family office, you're going to build wealth like you've never done. There's a cost to building wealth. You want to build wealth, you want to understand these things. There's a price to it.
That's Charles Njoya. Charles, when people, like I said, you come to this country, you live with a relative, and then you go to an apartment, and then you start salivating over that beautiful home over there, especially when you've gone to university or a nursing education and come out, you're making some money. Now, their argument, their understanding is that when you buy a home for yourself, it is wealth building because it builds equity. Why are they wrong?
They are, let me tell you, that's a great idea I just told you. You know, the middle class in America, they own money in banks. The wealthy own the banks. The middle class keep their money in banks. The wealthy own the banks. I see a lot of people knock my office. They come to my office and they tell me, Charles, my home is paid off. I have a lot of equity. I am okay now because if I were to retire or I was to pass away, my children have something to take. That is great. It's great. The only problem with that is being penny wise. Why? Because that money that is sitting there is money that's sitting in the bank. Wealthy people don't have equity in those assets. Those assets are just there like a funnel that make money. Money keeps coming for them to build other assets. So when you take your home and you bought a home for $500,000, and then you pay it off, that money is actually sitting in the bank for you, and it's not growing. It's growing basically at the rate of that your home. The home doesn't give you one of those 4 sources of return on investment on a property. It doesn't. The only thing you get from a home is that you get asset appreciation. It's going to be appreciated. You don't get any tax savings on that home. Number 2, that home is open to any litigation that you could have. America, when you make money, everybody wants to sue you. If people knew that you have $500,000 in a property, you make anything out there, they're going to sue you.
Believe
because
me,
they know they have access to that money.
They'll come and throw banana peelings around you so they slide and fall and then sue you.
Absolutely. So the game about equity in a home, I tell people, take your equity out of the home and multiply your assets with it. Let me give you an example. Most of these assets that you buy them, you don't even have what you call, it doesn't have, you basically buying it without any recourse. It is non-recourse, meaning that you don't have a skin. Your skin in the game is just to get your money. The banks are begging you when you start by acquiring assets. You take the money out of that property and buy more assets. Wealthy people own a lot of assets. Why? Because first of all, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, number 1. Number 2, you don't want to be sitting on your own money, whereas you could multiply it and multiply different. Because if you took that $500,000 that's sitting in that property, because there's something called line of credit. The equity that you have in your house, in your home, is your money. It is like a bank. Nobody will refuse you access to that money. If you took that money, even $100,000 there, you'll be able to have another asset, which is what, about $1 million. You take another $100,000 there, you have another asset, which is what, $1 million. If you multiply the number of assets that you could have in that property and be building more capital, more return on investment, more tax savings, it's just crazy. Wealthy people don't pay off their property. Wealthy people multiply properties, multiply assets with the equity they have in their properties.
I tell you what, Charles, I told somebody that it seems to me, when you save your money in the bank, you're rendering yourself poor. And he said, Tivan, what do you mean? What do you mean? We have credit union back home. We have banks here in the United States. We have banks in Europe. Why can I not save? Here's a question, Charles. Can somebody save himself to wealth?
That is a great question for economies, not the capitalist economy. Saving yourself to wealth, if you can do that in America, that's great. Every time you save money, it's a good thing. But the problem with capitalist economy is that the economy itself is incentivizing you to spend. Every economy wants you to spend, because the only way you multiply money in an economy is by spending. Remember, the last time when I was here, I told you that the American economy, capitalism, means that the government is a small government, very small government. What is a small government? We hear that all the time in our political circles, where people are saying that, we don't want large economies. Some are saying that, okay, we should increase the size of our economies. Large economies, let me tell you, in America, the government is very small. The only thing the government doesn't own the land. They don't own real estate. They don't own roads. They don't own bridges. They don't own airports. They don't own nothing. The only thing that the government has control over in terms of people is the military. Apart from the military, nothing. A few people down there in Maryland, DC, who are working for the federal government, and that's it. Those people, the government wants to do many other things apart from just taking care of 1% of the population. The government wants to build roads. It wants to do all those things it cannot do. So basically, what the government does is the government is constantly giving you incentives through the tax code to do those things that they want you to do. And when you do those, you basically are not paying anything in taxes. You have incentives. But coming back to your question, the aspect of basically, when you basically take your money, how do you call it? When you basically when you take your money, when you take money out of the system, when you keep money inside the system, inside your bank accounts, you keep money inside your bank accounts. The game you're basically doing is you're keeping money for the benefit of the top 1%, because they own the banks. They own the banks. The top 1% own the banks. We, the middle class, go and put money in the bank. Saving money is difficult in America. It's very difficult to save money in America. But again, the government has given you something that the world doesn't have. They give you capital, access to capital. Access to capital is how we build wealth. We build wealth in America by leveraging other people's money. When you look at a person like Kiyosaki will tell you, I have 15,000 properties. 15,000 properties.
That's a lot.
15,000 properties. I owe the banks $2 billion. I owe the bank. The bank, and that is all without recourse. When you look at that guy's equity, at the guy's wealth, he's more than $500 million in wealth. Why? He has leveraged all those things. He doesn't have, it's without recourse, meaning that if that thing was going to fall, he doesn't lose anything because of the way it's structured. That's why I say that structure is the key. The way you structure your estate is going to make you either wealthy or broke.
Charles, we grew up back home and we were told to work very hard, make good money, 200,000, 100,000 plus a year, $500,000, $1 million, and go and keep the money in the bank. You don't seem to be advising that.
I do. I advise it partly and not completely. So
Why?
basically, let me say partly. When you save money, it's a great thing. In every economy, if you can save money, it's a great thing. The problem is when you save the money, what do you do to the savings? That's the problem. If you save money and go and keep it in the bank, then you're basically keeping that money for other people who are smart to take that money and use in building wealth. You don't save money and leave it in the bank. If you can save money, it is to take that money and convert it into assets that are income generating. That gives you wealth. The money that's sitting in the bank doesn't give you anything. The highest money, it depends on where it's sitting. Maybe it's giving you 1%, 2%. It doesn't add anything to your portfolio. But if you took that money and converted it into assets, wealth is not the money you have in the bank. Wealth is your ability to access money. Wealth is your ability to access money. That's the best way of looking at wealth. If you can access money, do you think Elon Musk has $400 billion in the bank? No, he doesn't. That wealth is in the assets that he owns. The valuation of the assets he owns make that $400 billion. If you go to his bank, you probably see $200,000 or $500,000, or just money that is being used to what you call day-to-day living. His income, the cash, the money he needs. The money he needs is based on him leveraging those assets and taking money. That's why he doesn't pay taxes. Because when you generate income have money through income, you're going to pay all of it in taxes. All of it in taxes. So the wealthy don't take the money and keep it in the banks. Take the money and convert it into assets. You're going.
And it seems to me. I mean, I'm not an expert like you, but it seems to me when you keep $100,000 today in the bank, in 20 years it doesn't have the same value.
In 20 years, it's lost about 50% of its value. 50%.
Exactly.
50% of its value. So basically, the time value of money is about how do you convert the money. So if you keep money, $100,000, you take it. Most people take it and put it in their house. If you take that $100,000, you just keep it in the bank. 20 years down the line, you go to the bank, they'll give you $100,000. But what is the value of $100,000 20 years down the line? It's probably $1 million. Time value of money. So you don't keep that money in terms of the money itself. You keep the money in terms of assets. Assets appreciate in value. They grow in value, especially income generating assets. That's why you need to convert every penny you have into assets.
My guest today is tax strategist, the CEO of CHN Advisors in Texas, in the United States, He is a CPA. He wears so many hats. Charles Njoya, this smart guy is called Charles Njoya. Listen, you now know why you should be calling Charles. I'm going to share his number with you. You know why you should be calling him. If I understand you very well, Charles, your wealth is in the taxes you pay to Uncle Sam.
We love Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
It is precisely for this reason that you love Chat Night Africa. We bring you guests who just change your life. This is the kind of content that we come here to do. Okay, so if you're coming to watch Chat Night Africa, this is the kind of content you are making a decision to watch. This show is broadcast on the internet right now. It's on YouTube in high definition. It's on the internet in high definition. www.chatnightafrica.net. It's on different social media handles. Thank you, Aisha Kamara, for your kind comments. Thank you, Salif for Musa. Lots of people watching online. We will be right back in about just 1.5 minutes. My name is Divine Chamukong. I'm anchoring this broadcast from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. I discovered a group in Bamenda, northwest region of Cameroon. They are led by a guy called Freeman, and the group is Grassfield Music. You are about to have goosebumps. We'll be right back in about 2 minutes. Here is the Grassland Music Group. All right. Dr. Roger Biandake says he loves this group. You know what? I'm going to be bringing back that song on the show. Lots of people just love it. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, join me now in welcoming the genius, Mr. Charles Njoya. Very soon, I will open the phone line so that you can dial. And if you want, listen, you can disagree with Charles, that's fine. This is not some Chinese parliament or Russian parliament where everybody must come to agree or write motions of support. If you feel strongly that you disagree with him, please dial the number 240-603-7367, 240-603-7367. Charles, when you get a home in the United States, actually the banks, you go to the bank, before you get the home, you go to the banks, you meet lenders, and they run your credit, they do a credit check on you just to make sure that you can pay back the money. And they make sure that you are able to pay the money, you have a good job, you have a good income. Now, you get granted that all that goes through. You do your closing. You get now into this home, personal home, residential home. How then do you get the second home, the third home? Because that home, the first one is already weighing on you weighing on your credit report as a debt. Let's say the home is $500,000 and you make $100,000. They gave you that loan based on the income of $100,000 based on your credit report. Now you get the home, $500,000. How do you get to have a second home, a third home, when the first debt is on your credit report?
That's a great question. The question is, you have to understand the concept of credit in America. That's number one. You have to understand how credit works. The credit system is ready to give you money as long as you can show that you can afford it. You can afford it and you have a history of paying your debt. You can afford it and you have a history of paying your debt. The reason I tell people at times when they come to me is that when you are starting, the first thing you want to look for is sources of income. Is because it becomes very easy for you. If that first property was an income generating asset, it just alleviates your ability to acquire the second property. It just makes it easy to get the second property. When the first property is a liability that's continuously taking away money from your earnings, then it becomes more difficult for you to show that you have the ability to buy a second property. And this is very important. So you think about it in terms of, when we talk about credit, there's a concept called 35, 30, 15, 10, 10. So the first thing about your credit, you want to keep your credit score intact. One of the things about credit is that you want to show that you know how to manage lending. And that is why it's always important to have some form of lending. When you've gotten money from the society to buy a mortgage, you've taken you've taken loan to buy a car, you've taken some credit cards. When you look at those, they tend to improve your credit score over time. But it's gonna be held back by how much you have the ability to pay. You're probably paying your credit cards on time, you're paying everything on time. That is a good thing on your credit card. But there's something that is called debt to income ratio. If your debt to income ratio is very high, you cannot have access to this next property, to the next property, and to the next property. It becomes difficult because you have to increase your income or you have to reduce your debt. But if you have the first property in the form of an asset that is generating income for you, what does that do? It just alleviates, because it creates more income and your debt to income ratio becomes very low just because you're generating income. So it's easier for you to do more if your first property is an income generating asset. A home is a liability. A home is a liability. When, especially in our communities, we don't want to buy the home that fits our income. We are always looking for a way to adjust our tax returns so that we can afford that big house that we're dreaming of. We dream for that big home. Now we buy it. What it does for us is that it just holds us from buying any other assets for a long time, just because your debt to income ratio becomes really, really high. So that's what I would tell people. I tell my clients, I tell people that if you are in the process of starting, always start by increasing your income generating assets, because they will facilitate your ability to build wealth.
Thank you so much. And you are watching Voices of Africa. You're watching Voices of Africa on Chat Night Africa. My guest today is Mr. Charles Njoya, a business consultant, a tax strategist, a CPA, and the CEO of CHN Advisors.
Children of Africa, tell me, are you ready? Mama Africa, I want to know, are you ready?
Well, many people want to embark on this journey on this journey of wealth building. Nobody, I mean, I can't just think of anybody who wants to remain poor, remain broke. Hey, look, listen, you're making $300,000 in a year, $500,000 a year. You show up for what? Next day, and your boss, the owner of your company says, look, we no longer have money to pay you. You're becoming too expensive. What do you do? Now, that leads me to the next question, Charles. What do you tell somebody watching you now who has credit card debt or has or hasn't saved $1,000, but sincerely wants to embark on the journey to being wealthy? And this credit card thing is very significant to me because you see a lot of Africans, a lot of immigrants. They're going around and they beat their chest. I have a credit card. I have $200,000 credit card, as if it's a trophy. I don't know.
Yeah, let me tell you something about credit
I want you to address those.
Let me tell you something about credit card. Getting a credit card is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. Actually, it's a great thing to have a credit card. You want to have credit, access, ability to have credit. I have credit cards. I have credit cards for that I can access a lot of money through credit cards. The problem with credit cards is not having the credit card. The problem with credit card is using the credit card. When you have credit cards, you want to make sure that, first of all, that guy that has $1,000, doesn't have $1,000 in the bank, he has a lot of credit cards. What I would tell that person is, first of all, are you generating income? If the answer is yes, I'm generating income, the second thing I'll tell you, you have to pay off your credit cards. Because credit card usage alone account for 30% of your credit score. The usage of your credit card accounts for 30% of your credit score. What does that mean? That means that if you have a credit card, you always want to maintain the usage of your credit card at less than 30%. Less than 30% at every time. So if you have $1,000 in a credit card, the maximum you should always use is up to $3,000. I mean, it doesn't mean that's the maximum you should always use. That's the maximum that should be reported at the end of the reporting cycle. Every time you can use all the credit card and then you pay it off before the credit deadline. So basically, a credit card could boost your credit score depending on how you use it, but it will also damage your credit score. A credit card of $1,000, if you use that credit card by 100% and you don't pay it, there is absolutely no way your credit score will even be 600. Your credit score will be down in the 500s just because of that credit card that you hit it. And if you succeed to pay down that credit card to zero, the day you pay it down, if that's the only credit card you have, it will boost your credit by almost 200 points. It will take your credit to $700. That's the power of credit card. The use of your credit card is so important. There are four things you have to consider with credit cards. Number one is payment history. Number two is usage is credit utilization. Number three is the age of the credit. The longer the age of you having credit, the more ability you have access to more money, to more access. Your credit is better. And number four is you have the age and then you have the credit mix. Credit mix simply means if a guy who has a car loan, a guy who has a mortgage, a guy who has a credit card, and who is managing them well, is far better off than a guy who doesn't have any of them. So credit is not the problem. It's the usage of the credit that's a problem.
You couldn't be more right on this.
Pay the credit cards down. When you pay the credit cards down, then you now increase your credit score. And then the second thing that happens, first of all, the age of the credit will increase your credit score. The longer it is, the usage of the credit card will increase your credit score. And then the continuous payment, how you continuously pay your credit card will increase your score. And most times, if you have a credit card and you're managing it well from all these different perspectives that I just identified, what does the bank do? The bank just keeps increasing your credit card. It increases your credit because you've shown that you have the ability. There are two things again that are going to give you access to wealth. Number one is your ability to pay. And number two is your willingness to pay. Your willingness to pay is shown by the credit, the use of your credit, your history of paying, how you use your credit. That is the willingness to pay. You can have the ability to pay, but if there's no history that shows that you have the willingness to pay, you may not be able to have the things that you are able, the assets that you are able to acquire. So it's important to keep these things together.
I don't know about other people. I'm wearing a very nice suit here. But when I go to a suit store, I never take along my credit card. That thing is so tempting.
Yes.
It's so tempting. And you are passing around a Louis Vuitton store.
Yes.
Or you are passing around a Gucci. Ladies love the Gucci handbags.
Yes.
Then you charge, uncharge, get it now, pay later, get it now, pay later. Before you know it, listen, when I go to a suit store, and we got great suit stores owned by Africans here in Maryland, yes. I go with cash. Because when I remove $500 cash and pay, I feel how it pains, and I'm not going to spend $700 to, you understand? So I prefer to do it that way. That's the way it works for me. Because these things can be very tempting. You see that beautiful pair of shoes, you want to look cool, you want to look rich, even though you could be broke. Then you just charge and charge and charge. Very soon you get entrapped by credit cards, and the banks are making money off you. Charles will be right back. I met this guy, Lazar Schatzek. Lazar Schatzek is a guy, he's a nurse practitioner here in Maryland, Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. He is a super guy on the keyboards. We will bring a track by him, Lazar Schatzek. He calls it Count Your Blessings. Now, I don't know what is blessing having a lot of credit cards. I don't know since you can just charge and charge. Buy now, pay later, buy now, pay later. But one thing I know is a blessing is if you build wealth, if you put yourself on the path of building wealth, that is a blessing. Count it. And you'll be surprised how much the Lord has done, the good Lord has done. Here is Lazar Schatzek.
Count your blessings. When upon life's billows you were tempest-tossed, when you were discouraged, thinking all is lost, count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord had done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God had done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God had done. Are you ever burdened with a load of care? Does the cross seem heavy you were called to bear? Count your many blessings, every doubt will fly, and you will be singing as the days go by. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God had done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God had done. When you look at others with their lands and gold, things that Christ has promised you, His wealth untold. Count your many blessings, money cannot buy your reward in heaven or your home on high. your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God has done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God has done. So amid the conflict, whether great or small, do not be discouraged, God is over all. Count your many blessings, angels will attend. Help and comfort give you to your journey's end. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God has done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God has done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God has done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God has done. Count your blessings.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I just counted my blessings. There are more than 10. Keep counting yours. Look, listen, we have a very important question. Everything. Listen, I'm sure that you have some money and wondering where to invest that money, right? All right. We have saved a strategy for you for the end. Don't go away. Charles Njoya has a strategy for you. He told me, Divine, this is his Christmas gift to all of you watching. We're not going to unveil that gift until 3 minutes to the end of the broadcast. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the genius, one of the smartest guys I've had to meet, Charles Njoya. Charles, this is what Njoya Mercy says. When I played that song, I can't even count the blessings. They are too much. Lord. Listen, sometimes we take things for granted. The friends, the loving spouses, the great kids, the job you have, the oxygen you are breathing. Imagine if you had to pay taxes on that.
I know.
Oh, Lord.
I know.
So listen,
I know.
Yeah, if your right leg is hurting, thank God your left leg is functioning right.
Absolutely.
Charles, this all important question. Share this video. You want to watch this in high resolution, go to YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and notification bell. We have lined up powerful contents for you. I want to thank my producer, Zé Roger, in Lagos, who is making sure that this show is on several social media handles. You talk about blessing. Roger is a blessing to Chat Night Africa. He's one. He's up now in Lagos to make sure that you're watching this broadcast across the globe. Charles, this all-important question. Someone watching you has just collected the Njangi. You know, in Liberia, it's called Osusu. In Jamaica, I think it's Osusu or something like that. Depending on what part of Africa you are. So, but in Cameroon, in Nigeria, generally it's called Njangi. That's the lump sum that in a group, people collect people gather and then you pick the lump sum and go home. Don't just go buy a suit with it. Don't. All right. So the question becomes, what kind of investments should they involve in? Is it saving the money in a bank? Is it index funds? Is it stocks, crypto, playing the lottery jackpot? What is it? What should they do with the Njange money they have just collected?
Great question. Great question. You know, the first thing I tell people is that invest in what you know. Don't just invest. Don't just spend money. Don't just put money because people are doing things. You want to do it. Invest in those things that you know, those things that you can have control over. That's the first thing. If you are raising, if you have you collected your Njange, whatever fund you took the money from, and you want to invest it, which is what I'll suggest you do, the first thing is to basically look at what you know how to do best and invest in it. Invest in those things. In America, for example, I talk about America a lot because I know this market. I also know Cameroon very well. I know Africa a lot. I've worked quite extensively in Cameroon, in Africa. What I'm going to say is that I don't want to tell you that take this money and put it in an ETF. An ETF is currently at about 7 to 10%. If you put that money in there, it might be a good thing. You can take that money. If you're a long-term investor, you want to invest in stocks. I tell people that when you are investing in stocks, you always think long-term. And you want to invest in those things that you call mega trends. I am looking for mega trends in which to put money. What is a mega trend? A mega trend is something that you know that in the next years, it's going to be there. Those things like, if you're looking at mega trends today, you're looking at things like IT, startups. IT, if you don't evolve with IT, the world is going to leave you behind. IT. Number two is things like renewable energy. If you look at the world today, there are people who are also making a lot of money in the fashion industry, a lot of money. But again, I tell people, if you want to put, if you're thinking long-term, you take money today, you put in a Roth IRA, it's going to grow. It's going to grow significantly at maybe 10 to 12%, 10 to 11% in a Roth IRA. But again, these are not things that are going to be there all the time. They are going to fluctuate according to how the market is going. When you have money, if you took money from something, you want to invest in something that you have control over. That's my suggestion. And everybody is different. In our firm, when you come to our firm and you're talking about these things, we do what we call an assessment. An assessment allows us to know at what stage of your career, at what stage of wealth building you are in. If I don't do that, I cannot just stand here and tell you, put this here, put this here. It's very risky. I tell people, put the money where you have the best capacity, where you have the ability to monitor, where you have the ability to grow it, where your expertise is. That is what I tell people. If you want to put it in stock, put it in long-term stock. If you are a trader, you can do a trade. If you know how to trade, put it in trades. But I don't just sit here and tell you, okay, take that money. First of all, in America, you cannot just take that money and buy a property unless it is significant enough. You only buy properties when you have sustainable income. That is when you can buy a property.
You use the word ETFs. What are ETFs?
So ETFs are, okay, I can't, it grows off the top of my head right now, but ETF is a fund where it's a placement. It's just like investment in stocks. It's a particular type of placement where you basically, it's like stocks, but it has a name. I just don't have the name off the top of my head right now. But ETFs are a bucket where you invest in certain kind of you invest in certain kind of stocks. Yes, of assets.
Somebody wants to invest the money, but they are afraid of risk. Is there any kind of investment that the risk is at its very minimum?
The first thing is that risks associated. Let me tell you something about wealthy people. I was listening to a guy. He said, nothing is easy. Jack Ma tells you that nothing is easy. Nothing is easy. Nothing is free. If you want to invest in something and everybody's telling you that thing is good, it's going to make you money, you just know that there's no money there. Why? Because if that good, everybody will go there. if it's good today, within the next 3 years, everybody's in there. You want to invest in something that makes you different, that differentiates you. If you are somebody who doesn't like, who is afraid of risks, the higher the risk, the higher the reward. If you want something that is conservative, there's a lot of things out there that you can put conservative. You can go and put your money in a CD, it's going to be growing at 2% if that's what you want. But if you're looking for that thing that is going to make you money, if you're looking to invest in those things that are going to make you a lot of money, there is some risk. Risk is associated with rewards. I don't just tell people that. I mean, it is hard to think of anything that is out there that is risk-free, completely risk-free. There's nothing. There's really nothing. Real estate is one of those places that you invest and you know that you're not going to lose your money. That's one of the things. But it's a long-term investment.
Cash flow. I love that cash flow.
Yes, it's a long-term investment. And when I talk about real estate, I tell rich people, wealthy people, I tell people who are high income earners that, I mean, if you are not a risky investor, put your money in real estate. Real estate is going nowhere. If the property is there, you're watching the properties right there in front of you. So basically, real estate is one of those places where it's called a risk. I mean, the risk is very small. First of all, if you structure correctly, the return on investment in real estate is over 200%. The return on investment in real estate, especially at the start, is 200%. And I can tell you very easily why it's over 200%, depending on how you invest it. So you look like you want me to say it. Well, let me tell you why it's over 200%.
Okay.
If I take $100,000 out of $1 million, I take $100,000 and I put it down on a real estate property. It gives me maybe $1 million property. If I get $1 million property, then number one, first of all, my investment in getting that $1 million property was just how much? Was just 1/10 of it, $100,000. This because who is going to be paying that property is the person who is renting it. The cash flow is going to come from there. The first thing I'm going to get from that property is structured correctly. I'm going to get tax savings. Tax savings from a real estate property. If you take that thing, you cost segregate it. If you meet the requirements, you cost segregate that thing, you put it against your taxes, you're going to write off taxes. If you made $1 million in a state like here, where you pay $370,000, if you cost segregate that property and bring it here and bring it against your ordinary income, you can probably wipe off half of that property. So basically, you just reduce your taxes by half. That taxes, you're going to save your taxes by maybe $150,000 just because you invested and bought something. So your taxes are down. Let's say you save $200,000 on taxes because of that real estate investment that you made. That is what? 200 over 100 is 200%. Even if you save just $100,000 in taxes, that's 100% because you invested only 100,000. The second thing you're going to get is that asset appreciation. Over the last 30 years is 7%. So the least you will get is $70,000 asset appreciation. $70,000 divided by that your 100,000 investment is another 70% return on investment. Then number three, you're going to get something that is called what? Mortgage reduction. The guy who is paying your mortgage right out there, that guy is the middle class, because the middle class are the ones renting your property. The middle class, the people who are making $100,000, $200,000, those are the middle class. They are the ones who are renting all the properties out there. So the guy is renting that property. He's the one paying your mortgage, he's paying your property taxes, paying your mortgage. If the reduction in your mortgage is done by every year, that year, let's say you reduce your mortgage by $60,000. That's another 60,000 divided by 1,000, by 100. Even if it's 30,000, that's 30% return on investment. You add all those three, it's already over 200% return on investment. Another thing is cash flow. When you meet, there's a requirement in real estate which is called the 1% rule. When you meet that 1% rule, every time you're going to get cash flow. So every year that your mortgage is always, most of the time, lower than what? Lower than the rent you receive from the property. It's always, so you take more rent, you pay down the mortgage, and you have a cash flow. That cash flow that's remaining, even if you're just making $20,000 a year from that property, that's 20% return on investment. So you look at those return on investment on real estate, there is nothing that's going to give you that return on investment unless you invested in what you call a mega trend type of investment, or in something that is just overnight, it's just going to turn maybe down the line. So real estate, return on investment in real estate is far bigger than return on investment on any other investment. And it is less risky than any other investment. That's why I tell people, invest your money in real estate. Invest in real estate. You can control it. You have access to it. It's going to reduce your taxes. People, you invest in real estate investors don't pay taxes. They don't. Unless you don't know how to structure. And if you're out there, you have real estate and you're paying taxes, then fire your CPA. He doesn't understand a thing about how to structure you. And that is what we do. Tax strategy firms are there to help you structure your estate to build wealth. That is what we do.
Thank you. You see, now I understand why a lot of these rich folks are real estate investors. Now I understand. You see, we go to school and we our parents raised us to go to school and then learn to climb the corporate ladder. Big people, they own the corporate ladder. Then we're trying to climb it. They own the corporate ladder. So, and listen, I'm going to give Charles's number to you. Last time people were calling me, what is the number? Don't worry, I'm going to give it to you. Charles has a Christmas gift for you. No, that's not a check. Don't start calculating where you're going to buy the next Gucci or Louis Vuitton. It's not a check. He's not going to give you a check. He's going to give you something really good that you'll never, ever forget that you watched Chat Night Africa today. How do you become an investor in real estate? Well, Mercy, you joined the program late. We cannot come back to it. We don't have so much time here. You can dial the number 240-603-7367, 240-603-7367. But if you're asking a question that has been answered, then we will have to ask you to go and watch the broadcast from the beginning. Perhaps the last question before that gift wrapped, your Christmas gift, New Year gift today. The last question I'm going to ask you, Charles, is the solution to financial problems, working 2 jobs, extended hours, getting a better paying job, what is it?
Yeah, that is a great question. It's a great question. The solution to working, your American dream is in understanding the system. There is no better thing than understanding that. But I tell people, if you are struggling, you want to look for ways of increasing. America has everything available for you to be able to do what? To be able to build income. Even if you're 60 and you're out there, you're at that place where you think, I am stuck in a place I don't really know. You can start all over. There are things today that people go through programs. There are IT programs that people go through those programs for 6 months or for 3 months, and they're making $100,000. They're making money, crazy money. And that's not noise. It happens. It's out there. There's so much craziness in IT. There is so much craziness in, some people are using just their mobile phones and making crazy amounts of money. So basically, you can start at any stage and make money. Let me tell you something about over time. You should make time for yourself, for your home, for your people, for your family, and things like that. I know it's easy to say that, especially when you are an entrepreneur. When you are an entrepreneur, you spend a lot of time working. But that thing about working more hours, just thinking about every time you work additional hours, you're working for the state, you're working for the government. Why? Because additional income takes you into higher income tax brackets. And every time you do that, you're going to pay more in taxes. So what is the other thing? You look for those things, you change. You can change careers, you can think about things that can give you more income without you necessarily having to work some crazy hours. Number one. Number two, if you're already making money and you're struggling with taxes, if you're already making money and you're struggling, because once you make money in America, you're going to struggle with taxes. Your wealth is in the taxes you pay. So that guy who has worked extra hours because he needed to do those hours, it's great. But once you do that, you want to look for a strategy firm to work with. We are a tax and estate strategy firm. We're going to make you, one, avoid paying taxes on your income. And let me tell you something. This is not something that is just there for people who are, if you are not a higher income earner in America, you have to work again to generate income, because the source of income is the first stage of building wealth. Income is the first stage of building wealth. If you're sitting there, you're making $50,000 a year and you're struggling about building wealth, you're going to struggle. You are going to struggle, because $50,000 in America is basically just living wages. It's living income. So the next thing you have to do is look for something that will increase your portfolio. It takes you 6 months to do something. 6 months, 3 months, 4 months in the IT sector to start doing something that will pay you a lot more. So please look for something that's going to pay you money. The more income you make, the more access you have to building wealth. And when you make income, you now look for a strategist. Don't go out there and think that a CPA will help you. The CPA will only help you pay taxes. CPAs are great at a lot of things, but they are not tax strategists. You work with the tax strategist. If you're out there and you're struggling with taxes, the next thing you want to do is to look for a tax strategist. In my firm, if you are out there and your taxes are over $50,000 a year, you want to talk to me. Because what are we going to do? We're going to save you those $50,000 by using tax strategies that are available in the tax code. What the wealthy do, we are going to implement them for you. We implement them for you, the first thing. The second thing that's going to happen, once we implement, now you save on taxes. Now you can take those tax savings, because first of all, you're only struggling to invest because you're giving all your savings to all your money to Uncle Sam. So now, because you've taken that money away from Uncle Sam doesn't want you to pay taxes. America doesn't depend on taxes. America, the government is not, they don't have access to anything. They don't have access to any, they don't do much of these things. That's why they give you the tax code with incentives in there, so that you can basically avoid taxes. Tax avoidance is a right. Tax evasion is a crime. Tax avoidance is a right. You avoid taxes, you use that money that you avoided taxes with to invest. And that investment becomes a wealth builder that makes you go out of the rat race, and you are now stuck in that system where you're building wealth. You save taxes to acquire assets, and you acquire assets, and you just keep acquiring assets and using those assets to save you on taxes more and more. That is the game of the wealthy. The wealthy don't have income. They don't live on income. They live on assets. They convert every piece of income that they get into assets. Assets don't pay taxes. Income pays a lot of taxes. That is what you need to be doing to build wealth in America. I just told you, if you were making if you pay $100,000 to Uncle Sam, you just gave away $1 million in assets away. Uncle Sam doesn't need your money. Uncle Sam needs you to build an economy. America is only bigger because there are so many small economies that are built around. We are missing on that. If you look at the Jewish community, they live with family offices and they build wealth for their generations. We are not doing that. We need to understand the system and take advantage of the system. One thing we did not talk about, one thing we did not talk about here is we are getting into a very exciting times in the United States. Whether you like it, you don't like it, we are having some crazy people that are coming into power. They're taking power. We are not here. When you think about America, you should think about America as a place where you want to make money. That's it. It's not a place where you come here to think about, oh, this. Capitalism means that there are two sets of people. Two. There's going to be a capitalist who is a thug. And then there's going to be the middle class who is being screwed. Whether you either choose whether you're going to be that middle class who is being screwed, or you want to be that capitalist who is screwing the middle class. I don't want to be the middle class. I don't. And what I tell people is that if you play the game of America, you are going to find yourself in the top 1% very easily, because we already work too hard. That is the game.
Are there two tax codes in America, one for the rich and one for the poor? Middle
Good
class.
question. The middle class, many people have, I mean, I hear that all the time. I hear people tell me,
That's why I
no,
asked you the
there are
question.
two tax questions. There are two tax. There is only one tax code. America is so free. Imagine there were two tax codes. This country would be broken if there were two tax codes. There's one tax code in America. The problem is that some people know how to use it. Some people just don't know how to use it. Some people understand. Some people have been made to understand that. How many of you here have heard your CPA tell you that when you make money, you have to pay taxes? That's madness. That is madness. When you make money, the tax code doesn't tell you that you must pay taxes. The tax code tells you that you must file your tax returns. That is what the tax code tells you. The tax code also tells you that you have to pay the minimum legal tax liability. The minimum legal tax liability. What is the minimum legal tax liability? For Elon Musk is zero. If for Elon Musk is zero, why are you paying $100,000 in taxes? If for Donald Trump is zero. So there's only one tax code, and that tax code is for you. It's there for you to help build the American economy. And if you don't build the economy, you're going to be penalized. And that penalty comes through the tax code. The tax code is an incentive. It's an incentive program that allows you to basically build the economy. You build the economy. The government doesn't do these things. I told you America is a small economy. It's a small government. Small government means that the government only makes the rules and then incentivizes us to build the economy. So basically, if anybody tells you that you make money, you have to pay taxes, it means that that person doesn't understand how the system works. Run. And then look for someone who understands the tax code and is going to make your wealth is in the taxes you pay. Your wealth is in the taxes you pay. Convert your taxes into assets because that's the only thing you have. You make $1 million, you take home $500,000. How can you even live like $1 million person on $500,000? So you're working, you're just a white collar slave. We in the middle class, we are being taught in schools. If you have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it explains this concept very well, but people
That's a great book.
And they never understand it.
Great book, great book, great book.
Yes.
Great book. Wow.
So you can understand when I start talking about how to structure yourself to build your wealth, I get so passionate because I feel like there is something so clear for us to take, but we are not taking it. We could talk about this for a whole day, and I will not stop talking.
And this is not the last time you're coming here. You'll be coming back again. Charles, when you came here the first time, my phone didn't stop ringing. Can you bring that guy? Where did you find him? Yes. I said, I use divine eyes to see where.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
My God.
We love Chant Night Africa.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
We promised you a little Christmas gift. Now I know when Charles said do something, maybe look for an extra income, maybe an IT job. Somebody's asking how many IT. Well, I'll come to that. The problem, Charles, is that a lot of people, the moment you have more money, a raise at work, they're thinking of the next new car. I don't know why we Africans think this way, immigrants especially. The moment you move from a $50,000 job to a $100,000 job, you believe that's the time now to go get a Mercedes-Benz on credit. You believe that's the time to, I don't know, go on expensive vacations. Charles, I don't know, maybe you have to speak to that.
I mean, I don't mind people taking their vacations, but you have to be able to afford it. You have to be able to afford it. The thing we should be doing.
Not credit card.
Yes, I mean, not credit card. The point is, and this is very important. When you start making income, you have to look for ways to multiply sources of income. You have to look for ways to basically diversify your sources of income.
I love that.
And the way America gives you so many ways of diversifying your income. And America tells you that if you have a side gig, if you're a W-2 earner and you have a side gig, and that side gig, you're actively involved in that side gig is going to make you avoid paying taxes. That side gig is going to give you more sources, more income. The government is always available. I tell a lot of people when they come to me, I say, if you are struggling with anything, there's something called Chamber of Commerce around your state. If you're struggling to start, go to the Chamber of Commerce. Many people don't take advantage of the Chamber of Commerce, but they're amazing. If you want to start a business, go talk to them. They have all sorts of tools for you, and those tools are for free. They are there to encourage you to build businesses. The Chamber of Commerce is there to help you. If you are stuck, you have money in your hand and you're looking for what to do and things like that. First of all, think about what you want. If you don't know what to do, go to the Chamber of Commerce and tell them that, look, I'm trying to do, what are small, they can show you a list of small businesses and you can look at what is convenient for you and then you do it. That's number one. Yes. The key is basically multiply your source of income. When you multiply, wealthy people, what do they say? When you listen to people like the Robert Kiyosaki, all these boys who are playing crazy game, what do they tell you? They tell you that they never buy anything out of their pocket. They're basically, as long as they want to, they buy. I mean, at the end of the year, you see somebody buys his Mercedes. He's buying it because somebody somewhere paid him to buy that. You make people pay for your gadgets.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. I mean, is it possible? Do you have examples of people who went from zero or from very little to becoming millionaires, billionaires? When we talk about Bill Gates, we talk about Elon Musk, we talk about Warren Buffett, people are thinking that, oh, maybe it's just something I can't reach, is beyond reach. Do you have examples of people?
There are so many examples.
Folks who began like us and now they're in the top 1%. Talk to us, Charles.
I don't want to talk about, let me tell you something. Even when you think about all these guys, people like Jack Ma was nothing. He didn't own anything. He created what you call today, what do you call it? Alibaba. Alibaba is a creation from nothing. You see all these guys that you talk about, even if in our communities, you have some crazy guys in our communities who've worked very hard to build a lot of assets for themselves. In our community, they have worked very hard. They came here, they had nothing. They started by maybe they were driving a truck, or maybe they were doing that. Truck driving is something that most people think that truck driving in America, it pays you at least $100,000 a year. Truck driving. And there are so many people who are strong, they can do that. They are turning around, they are earning $30,000 and they are crying every day. Why don't you go and learn for 3 months? You are going to be a truck driver. 3 months will make you a truck driver and you make $100,000. So basically what I'm telling you is that if you look at most of these guys who are there, I mean, you would say there's always some little bit of luck, but you have to start with something that you're passionate about. Start with something. All these people, you think about all these wealthy people who would start with IT or things like that. They've all become Larry Page. You can talk about the Bill Gates. People talk about his father was this, he was that. This guy, they call him, whether it's Bill Soros or whatsoever. All these guys are people who started from nothing. They started from zero in America and they were able to build something that they were passionate about, something people could not see, something that they could dream about. Their dream is their dream. When you dream of something, I tell people every day that when you want to do something, just start. In America, every business works. People will tell me, oh, that's not. In America, every business works. Why? Because the system will support you in building that business. And you also have to be watchful in the business. Because when businesses are growing, any business that is flourishing, people are going to get in. You have to be ready to basically recycle yourself and move to something else. As you're starting, before you start something, down the line, people see that if this thing is working, many people will come in. And many a times, these things are not crazy inventions. These are just crazy ideas. Money is created through ideas. And if those ideas are never put on paper and you never start doing them, you will never become anything. Nothing.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to wrap up, but before we do, your Christmas gift is coming. We're going to unwrap your Christmas gift very, very soon. But we're going to go back to this clip. Hold my hands, never let me down. Charles has been holding your hands, all of you watching. Talk to your friends about Chat Night Africa. Share this video. Share this video. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and notification bell. That's how you watch the show in high definition. You can also go to www.chatnightafrica.net. My name is Divine Nchamakong. I'm the host for Chat Night Africa. We want to let me take this opportunity to thank all the people who've been supporting this platform, not because they have so much, but because they believe in our mission and vision. They believe that, we receive so many testimonies about how the programs, the content we have here are changing people. I thank all of you who lined up behind us, supporting one way or the other. Keep supporting. You can reach us by emails. A lot of you watching have my cell phone number. You can reach us by email, chatnightafrica@gmail.com. chatnightafrica@gmail.com. The time has come, but before we bring in Charles to unwrap your gift, now take your pen and paper. Take your pen and paper. I told you he's not giving you a check because the next thing you do is go to a suit store, a Louis Vuitton or Gucci. He's teaching you how to catch fish. All right. So a day never goes by that you haven't eaten, that you're hungry, because somebody taught you how to catch fish instead of catching fish and sharing to you. My name is Divine Nchamakong. Stand by after 2 minutes. Hold my hand. Never let me down. I'll be right back.
Hold my hands, never let me down. Hold my hands, you gotta hold my hand, yeah. Take my hands, let me see your face. Give me strength to push on through. Let me live for you. Let me live for you. Hold my hands, never let me down. Hold my hands, you gotta hold my hand, yeah. Take my hands, let me see your face. Give me strength to push on through. Let me live for you. Let me live for you. Hold my hands, never let me down. Hold my hands, never let me down.
All right. Hold my hands, never let me down. That's a beautiful song. That's by the Grassfield Group in Bamenda, Northwest region of Cameroon, led by Freeman. Ladies and gentlemen, that time is now. We have a secret for you. This is the gift, the Christmas gift. Don't say that Divine did not give you a gift. I brought somebody, I don't have cash, but I brought somebody who can share something that will help you. Muscle you up. All right. Are you ready for this? Ladies and gentlemen, join me once more in welcoming Mr. Charles Njoya, CEO of CHN Advisors. The big boss is here right now. Word you again to the gift. All right, Charles. This is Christmas time. We are approaching Christmas, New Year. Feliz Navidad, dun, da, 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 dun. Feliz Navidad, da, 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 dun. Feliz Navidad. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. All right, Charles, you have 2 minutes to unwrap the gift.
Yeah, I want to talk to business people. And the last time I came here, I told people about how you could basically make your children build generational wealth for themselves. I told you about employing your kids. I mean, I always talk about that. I won't leave this place without telling you, please, for those of you who have businesses, employ your kids. And if you're struggling on how to structure it, you can reach out to our firm. We are going to help you with that. Employing your kids without doing anything, you're going to create millions of dollars for your kids at young age. That's how crazy that particular strategy is. It's a crazy strategy for wealth building, for generational wealth building. And the top 1% in this country, the savvy people, the ones that Donald Trump called the smart, they have used it for hundreds of years. We too should start using it. That's number one. Number two, I already talked about that. If you don't know how that works, you want to look at the previous video that we had on Chat Night Africa, and then you will be able to understand how that works. Number one. Number two is I see a lot of people who are basically business owners, and they are running their businesses as a sole proprietorship, and they are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they don't have any structure for it. When you don't have that structure and you're making money from a sole proprietorship, you are going to be paying a significant amount in taxes called self-employment tax. It's a 15.3% tax that you could avoid completely. That's an additional tax to your normal tax that you could avoid completely by just what? By just structuring and electing an S Corp. When you elect an S Corp, then you can basically do what you call compensation study to avoid most of that self-employment tax. So basically, I say this because I see that all the time in our communities. People are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they are filing their taxes as a Schedule C. If you file your taxes as a Schedule C, guess what? You're going to pay 15.3% of any amount that you make as profit, in addition to your basic taxes or your basic income taxes, whether it be state and federal. So this is important. I wanted to throw that out for you. The second thing I'm going to talk to you about is about when you are an S Corp, there's something that you call an accountable plan. Accountable plans are basically a reimbursement arrangement between your business and yourself. And any employee, which in most cases you are the employee of your own S Corp. An accountable plan alone, if well done, could save you an additional maybe write-off of about $50,000 in taxes. Maybe 20, 30, 40, or 50. And if you are a top percenter, you're going to save a lot of money by implementing that accountable plan. I also talked about something called Augusta Rule. Augusta Rule is already there for you. The tax code says in its code section 280A that if you rent your home for 14 days or less to any other third party, that 14 days or less is tax-free. It's not taxable. And the expense that you incur there is taxable to business, as long as it met the requirement of code section 162A, which says that expense must be ordinary and necessary reduction of income. So basically, that is a given to everybody who owns a business. And that alone could save you up to $60,000 of write-off. Some people have $100,000 of write-off just because of the Augusta Rule. So those are some of the strategies. I can give you on and on and on. And if you want to convert your business expenses in your personal expenses into business expenses, you want to create something called a family board of advisory. That family board of advisory gives you the possibility of converting your vacation into business. Your vacation, so even your flight tickets for your vacation becomes business write-offs. The IRS doesn't tell you, the government doesn't tell you where to hold your board meetings. You can be holding your board meeting in DUP, in your village in Furawa, anywhere you want to, you can be holding your board meeting. Or you could decide that you're going to Dubai and having your board meeting. The IRS doesn't stop you from doing that. As long as it's ordinary and necessary for your business, board meetings are. You can convert your money. You can convert you can basically convert all your personal expenses into business, most of your personal expenses to business expenses. You can make the IRS, the government, pay for your children's school fees. You can also do something called a family management company. Family management companies are a great way of converting your personal expenses to business expenses. I mean, I could go on and on and on and
Well,
on.
we have to
These
stop.
are all strategies that will help you save a lot of money. I'm saying this because we are at the end of the year. This is far more important for anybody who is seated here to understand that there are strategies out there that are all part of the tax code. It is given for everybody who is here to be able to do it. And if you are here and you have not, this is open enrollment. Please go and get an HSA. You don't want to be putting your health insurance in a bin and just putting it every month. Get every year. The money, when you pay premium for health insurance, most of us have crazy health insurance that we never use. Why don't you have an HSA? HSA have built millions of dollars for people. And if you are also here, you have a lot of money in your 401k. You want to think about self-directing your 401k. Talk to us. We can do that. And it's going to multiply your 401k for you. These are all things that are included in the tax code. Nobody tells you about them. I could go on and on and on and on about things that will change your life altogether.
And I'll be giving you Charles's number immediately.
Thank you.
All right. If you have been waiting for Charles's number, let me give it to you now. It's take your pen and paper, notebooks out, pens, Fevit, quickly. We got to go. 641 451 4467. Let me repeat it. 641 451 4467. This is his number. I've never seen a big guy, big boss who picks up his calls, responds like Charles. Believe me, I've been talking to him. So you have his number now. Don't throw away your money. Call tax. Listen, he has told you there's a difference between tax avoidance, which is legal, and tax evasion, which is illegal. It's your right to avoid paying taxes. You just have to know what to do. And the person to give you that information is not a CPA, great as they are. It is a tax strategist like Charles Njoya, very knowledgeable guy. You have heard it. Let me repeat the number. 641 451 4467. Charles, a last word?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody who is here. I want to tell you that there is nothing like creating time to learn. There is nothing. The biggest challenge we have in America, the biggest challenge is that we don't understand. We don't have access to information. Information is so expensive in this country. And guys, if you really want to know how the system works, we can teach you how the system works. If you really want to know how the system works, please, let's talk. We are going to tell you how the system works, and you can take it to build your own economy. Building your own economy is a right. Paying taxes is not you must not pay taxes. The tax code doesn't say you must pay taxes. The tax code says you can avoid taxes. You should pay the minimum legal tax obligation. What is the minimum legal tax obligation? For Donald Trump, who is a billionaire, it's zero. Why are you paying more than enough? Why are you paying so much in taxes? You're paying your wealth away. Guys, go out there and win. We came here to win. We came here with a dream. That dream is in the way we structure our estates. If you don't know how to structure, talk to me. The foundation of your estate from a legal standpoint is a trust, revocable living trust. The foundation of your estate from a wealth building standpoint is your tax return. Those two things are going to make you wealthy in America.
Good.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
I cannot thank you enough, Charles, for being so passionate. Listen, if everybody were so passionate about what they do, the world would be a better place. I have no doubt about it. This guy is not only very knowledgeable, he is very passionate in wanting to help people. One more time, let me give his phone number out. 641 451 4467. 641 451 4467. Thank you so much, my dear brother, Brother Thomas Titangwa. You're one of my big supporters on Chat Night Africa. I truly, truly appreciate you with your loving wife, Sally. Thank you so much. And again, let me take this opportunity to thank all the people who support us as Chat Night Africa. Producing this thing is expensive. Equipment is expensive. The operational cost is high. So if you want to support us, please, the door is open. We believe in the independence of journalism. In other words, somebody cannot support us and say, well, you must not talk to Charles Njoya. No, we cannot do this. Our conscience and nothing else, our willingness to passionately serve the community drives the choices that we make, the choice of guests that we make. Thank you again, Charles. You're such a wonderful person. I wish you a wonderful time with your family as we go towards the end of the year. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Happy Christmas. Happy New Year. Excellent end of the year for everyone. And I mean, Divine, I couldn't thank you enough for making this information available to our own communities. We came here to win. We must win.
All right. And you can watch this. If you haven't discovered the wonderful, stunning broadcast website that Chat Night Africa has, you ought to go see what's happening there. It's www.chatnightafrica.net. You can check us out on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook, 2 places, and so on. Merci à tout le monde. All good things have an end. Whenever you see this jingle, we hear this jingle, it's time to say goodbye. My name is Divine Chamukong. I'm your very humble host for the show in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Au revoir.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming to get down. I'm coming to dance, We're gonna dance, we're gonna get down, we're gonna party hardy, we're gonna boogie woogie, and when we jam, it's out of sight. This song right here, it's dynamite. I'm ready.